a dope rapper, but I think sometimes Meek falls victim to I have to explain myself because they be playing with my name.
Yeah.
And the more he responds, the more they.
This is what I look for. When I see a success, I'm looking for anything
to say that they didn't do it on their own?
Detain it. Not to.
Jason Lee isn't just teasing Jay-Z. He's straight up holding a nuclear bomb over that man's career, and the timer's already ticking loud. What started as quiet whispers on his Hollywood Unlocked podcast has turned into a live, public countdown that's got the whole industry on edge. Lee claims he's sitting on explosive photos from Sean Diddy Combs' infamous freak-off parties, those same wild, secretive gatherings prosecutors later described as twisted productions Diddy allegedly organized, directed, and filmed himself. And get this, Lee said these aren't just harmless party flicks, these are career-ending receipts, pictures that could rip apart one of hip-hop's most carefully protected reputations. According to Lee, one of the photos allegedly shows Jay-Z in a very compromising moment with another man. But the whispers go even deeper. Some insiders are now claiming that the man in question could actually be Diddy himself. That's right. If that's true, this isn't just gossip, it's nuclear fallout. The industry's gone full lockdown trying to figure out how bad this could get. You could hear the tension in Jason Lee's voice when he addressed Jay directly on air, practically daring him to respond. Jay, I know you're watching because you got people calling me. Stop having people call me. You can call me yourself. That wasn't just a taunt. It was a power move, a signal to the world that he's holding something real. And the craziest part, Jay's team allegedly has been reaching out. We're not brushing it off like a baseless rumor, but treating it like a full-blown threat. For a man who's built his empire on image, control, and flawless branding, even a hint of panic says a lot, especially when that image can't coexist with anything tied to Diddy's dark, secret world. By the time Jason Lee's clip exploded across the internet in August 2024, Diddy's legal nightmare was already spinning out of control.
It's probably leaning towards guilt. Now, on the racketeering, I agree with you that the predicate acts may be found, but that's not all they need. There's an ultimate question. The first question on the jury verdict form is, do you find him guilty or not guilty of racketeering? Before you even get to the predicate acts, which you only get to if you find guilt, they could just be hung up on that question and say, this guy's not Tony Soprano. I am not convinced that I even want to find guilt.
Just 1 month later, in September, federal prosecutors officially charged him with racketeering and transportation for illicit purposes, the exact same activities tied to those infamous freak-off parties Jason Lee had been talking about.
And why he's speaking out now.
He said he's speaking out because he believes Diddy's a predator. He wants accountability, and he doesn't want someone like this to run unchecked in the future.
Court documents painted a disturbing picture describing the events as productions Diddy personally arranged, directed, and even electronically recorded. That one phrase, electronically recorded, sent shockwaves through Hollywood, because if Jay-Z was anywhere near one of those events, that means his name, or worse, his face, could be buried somewhere in that seized evidence sitting deep in a federal archive right now. This isn't just gossip anymore. This is about potential digital proof locked away by the government, and that's why people think Jason Lee's suddenly speaking out. Then the fire got hotter when people from Diddy's own camp started talking. Former Bad Boy artist Chopper dropped a chilling story on the art of dialogue. He said he once walked into a studio and saw two powerful men doing things that were uncomfortable to my eyes. He didn't name them, but everyone online started connecting the dots instantly. If Diddy was known for having private encounters with other male industry figures, and now Jay-Z's name is even being whispered in that same context, the question isn't if something went down, it's who's bold enough to confirm it. And just when the smoke couldn't get any thicker, producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones dropped that bombshell lawsuit accusing Diddy of pressuring him into same-gender situations. That lawsuit made the whole industry flinch, because suddenly, Jason Lee's claims didn't sound so far-fetched anymore. Inside that explosive filing, Lil Rod claimed that Diddy once bragged about being intimate with a Philadelphia rapper who used to date Nicki Minaj. Instantly, fans went wild, pointing fingers at Meek Mill, but others weren't so sure. Some people online started wondering if that was just a clever distraction to keep eyes off a much bigger name. As Diddy's legal chaos deepened, something strange started happening with Jay-Z. His moves, or lack of them, began raising eyebrows everywhere. Out of nowhere, he canceled the 2024 Rock Nation Brunch, his signature pre-Grammy event that's basically Hollywood's high society reunion. That brunch isn't just about champagne and small talk, it's about power. Deals get made there, alliances get cemented, and missing it sends a loud message. So when the event was suddenly scrapped for the first time since it launched in 2011, people knew it wasn't just scheduling drama. That brunch had survived everything, pandemics, feuds, and back-to-back tours, but it didn't survive Diddy's indictment. Coincidence? Maybe. But when 50 Cent jumped online posting a photo of Jay-Z with the caption, "Jay in hibernation, he ain't coming outside till this thing with Puff blows over," the internet lost it, because when even 50, the king of trolling, turns your silence into a punchline, it means the streets are already whispering what the headlines won't print.
So that's just competitive energy.
Competitiveness.
All right, so you and Diddy, you and Puff cool?
No, I don't really rock with him
okay,
like that.
damn. All right, I didn't know what that meant.
Okay,
Then. All right, okay.
Jay-Z and Diddy's connection runs deep. They weren't just collaborators, they were power twins. From the late 90s after Biggie's death to their billionaire status today, these two moved side by side. We've seen them together everywhere. From the 2019 Rock Nation brunch to DJ Khaled's Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2022 to countless private parties in LA and New York. But when Diddy got indicted, Jay didn't say a single word. No support, no defense, no distance, just silence, heavy strategic silence. And in this climate, that silence doesn't sound cautious anymore. It sounds like damage control, the kind of quiet that only happens when lawyers are rewriting playbooks at full speed while the world's waiting for someone to slip. And here's where things get real messy. In December 2024, a woman filed an amended lawsuit accusing both Diddy and Jay-Z of a violent encounter that allegedly took place at a house party way back in 2000.
In a blistering statement, Jay-Z accuses Jane Doe's attorney of trying to blackmail him. He said further, quote, "These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away."
Jay's legal team instantly hit back, calling the entire claim extortion. They released a statement blasting the attorney behind the case, saying he was trying to blackmail Jay for money and attention. But here's the wild twist. That same legal language mirrors exactly what Jason Lee is now being accused of. Both stories involve people holding onto damaging information and demanding acknowledgement or payout. That parallel hasn't gone unnoticed. Not by the media, not by the fans, and definitely not by the blogs dissecting every single word Jay's lawyers drop. Behind all this noise, industry insiders have been whispering for years about hip-hop's hidden subculture, the one everyone pretends doesn't exist. Back in 2008, author Terrence Dean released a shocking memoir that hinted at an underground world of executives and rappers living double lives, straight in their lyrics, but very different behind closed doors.
Referred to me as Wild King Nights. And what a Wild King Night was when him and a guest would go to a hotel room or be at his home, his bedroom, and they would have intimate gatherings. I would have to go and prep that hotel room, which consisted of baby oil, astroglide.
Dean never dropped names, but the coded hints about a New York mogul with movie star friends kept resurfacing online every single time Diddy threw another all-white party in the Hamptons. Now that secret network is getting dragged straight into the spotlight through court documents and gossip broadcasts alike. And let's be real, this isn't about judging anyone's identity. It's about power, deception, and fear of exposure, the unspoken rules that have kept certain people untouchable for decades. And if the whispers about those recordings are true, it's not over yet. Federal sources confirmed that the electronics seized from Diddy's homes in Los Angeles, Miami, and the Hamptons include years of footage. And according to Jason Lee, he's sitting on copies of at least some of those images. The streets are saying this storm's just getting started. Those photos Jason Lee mentioned didn't just appear out of nowhere. Insiders claim they've been quietly circulating behind the scenes long before Diddy's indictment ever hit. Nobody really knows if Lee got them legally or not, but at this point, that's not even the main issue. What matters is that Jay-Z's name keeps popping up in connection with events prosecutors now describe as part of a pattern of organized exploitation. The line between witness and participant is starting to blur in ways that make everyone nervous.
I want you to think about this. Allegedly, Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane, to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him. And so he could level up Beyonce.
And the longer this story keeps running, the more cracks start showing. Even inside Jay-Z's own circle, former associates are whispering that Beyonce's public appearances are starting to look more and more separate from her husband's. She hit the 2025 Met Gala solo, rocking the carpet without Jay anywhere in sight, and later gave a cryptic speech about truth always finding light. Then she skipped joint interviews for their upcoming projects, a move fans brushed off, but insiders see as strategic distance. When Jason Lee says he's been getting calls from their people, he's not exaggerating. That's full-blown crisis control mode. Every ignored call, every delay in response just makes it look like something massive is being quietly managed behind closed doors. The industry's seen scandals before, but not like this. This one's got everything tangled together. Billion-dollar brands, criminal trials, celebrity marriages, and secret footage. The whispers about Diddy's private world used to live on the internet's edge, but now they're dead center and tightening fast. Because at this stage, it's not even just about Diddy anymore. The spotlight's shifting to the men who showed up, kept quiet, and maybe even helped protect a carefully built image that could crumble overnight. Jay-Z didn't just build Rock Nation, he built an empire that's now standing right on the edge of exposure. He built a legend, one crafted from power, loyalty, and the image of untouchable masculinity. But if the evidence Jason Lee claims to have ever surfaces, that entire legend could collapse overnight because Jay-Z didn't just marry Beyonce. Back in 2000, he might have married a cover story. And if those rumored photos are real, that story's threads are already starting to unravel in real time.
Weirdo. I don't get no what you got in your head, that neural link. You'll never outthink me. Ever.
See, Jay-Z's empire wasn't just about the music, it was about the myth. The billion-dollar brand he's built rests on the illusion of control, family, and unshakable image. Every commercial, every lyric, every public moment was designed to uphold that power narrative. But even the strongest myth needs a foundation, and for Jay-Z, that foundation has always been his marriage. Think about it. In 2000, when the headlines were still buzzing about Diddy's chaotic Manhattan nightclub scandal, Jay-Z suddenly stepped out publicly with his new fiancée, Beyonce. By 2008, they were married and instantly crowned the perfect power couple of modern celebrity. But now, people are starting to ask the hard question, was that marriage a genuine love story or a calculated shield to protect against whispers that had been floating around long before Jason Lee ever turned his mic on? The timing alone has people side-eyeing everything. In 1999, Diddy was caught in his own shooting trial while Jay-Z faced his own legal storm, that assault charge that nearly derailed him. Both men were fighting to survive in an industry built on bravado and image. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, Jay-Z reappears as the polished mogul, the gentleman businessman, the devoted partner, the total opposite of the chaos around him. Insiders even called it a rebranding move back then, a strategic reset. And when you start lining up the dates, Diddy's scandal, Jay's arrest, and the very first public sighting of him and Beyonce together, it starts to feel less like fate and more like strategy. That's the unspoken theory floating around again now. Their marriage wasn't just romance. It was reconstruction, a carefully built firewall to protect the empire before the storm ever hit. Jay-Z didn't just marry Beyonce. He married the only woman in the industry who could never be tied to these kinds of rumors. Her image was spotless, her reputation untouchable. But what if she already knew more than people think? That question hits different when you look back at Beyonce's 2013 interview with Oprah, where she described their relationship as a foundation of friendship that lasted more than a year before we ever went on a date. To most fans, it sounded heartwarming, like a storybook romance built on patience and trust. But now, viewed through the lens of these new allegations, that foundation starts to feel more like a test phase, a quiet vetting period before the partnership went public. They weren't just lovers. They were two rising brands preparing to merge in a culture obsessed with image and power. He needed stability after years of controversy. She needed protection from an industry notorious for tearing women down. Their bond became the safest kind of deal. Two global brands building a protective fortress around each other while locking away every imperfection behind those luxury gates. It was love, business, and image control all woven together in one unstoppable narrative. And for over 2 decades, that symmetry worked perfectly. Beyonce became the symbol of grace, power, and control, the cultural North Star that balanced out every shadow in Jay-Z's orbit. Together, they built a mythology so strong that even politicians used their image as inspiration for Black excellence. But that harmony came with a cost. Beyoncé's silence became his armor. Every time she stayed quiet, it kept his world from cracking down. But now that silence might be echoing louder than ever. Every scandal that brushed up against Jay-Z, from lawsuits to affairs, was always softened by Beyoncé's calm. When he stumbled, she didn't lash out. She turned that pain into art. Her Lemonade era wasn't just music. It was emotional warfare disguised as empowerment, a public cleansing that transformed private betrayal into a cultural movement. But beneath that strength lies a haunting question that refuses to fade. Was her silence truly born of grace, or was it awareness all along? Because if Beyoncé knew the truth, if she understood the whispers behind those polished smiles, then her quiet composure wasn't forgiveness. It was foresight. And that theory gained new life heading into 2024 when Jason Lee dropped his biggest claim yet, that he had the incriminating photos. Almost immediately afterward, Beyoncé's legal team made a quiet but powerful move. They filed new content protection notices, expanding her intellectual property rights to include her visual likeness and even brand associations. Lawyers in the industry were stunned. For someone who already guards her image like Fort Knox, this was an extreme level of protection. And the timing? It lined up perfectly. Right as Jay-Z went completely silent and all their joint appearances suddenly got canceled, to outsiders it looked random, but to insiders it screamed containment mode. Two halves of $1 billion empire moving in sync to seal every possible leak before anything reached daylight.
Up cars.
Yeah.
Is he this gangster that behind the scenes that is that him, or is that people
Shout
running?
out to Wendy Williams. And I'm not saying allegedly.
Oh.
I'm saying, Sean Carter, you're a piece of shit. Taking Pimp C wasn't bad enough. You just want to go down there and you want to just remove all of the balls from every real gangster in Houston.
Then came the legal threats, the kind that remind everyone how fast the Carter machine can move when cornered. Within hours of Jaguar Wright's explosive interview on Pi Morgan's show, the entire video vanished from the internet after Jay-Z's attorney stepped in. That wasn't coincidence. That was precision cleanup in motion. It wasn't a debate. It was a wipeout. The network later confirmed Jay-Z's legal team demanded the interview be deleted for factual inaccuracy, but they didn't stop there. That same week, multiple bloggers got cease and desist letters warning them to stop repeating so-called baseless claims. To casual fans, that looked like standard crisis control. But to people who've watched Jay-Z's rise, it reeked of institutional fear. If he's this aggressive now, imagine the machinery he had back in 2000 before social media could make truth go viral overnight. And when you peel back every layer, it all circles around one haunting idea. The biggest illusion might not be the alleged footage or the rumors. It might be the marriage itself, because maybe the real scandal wasn't in the photos. It was in the paperwork that made the fairy tale official. Then things got darker. In late 2024, a New York lawsuit named both Diddy and Jay-Z tied to a private event from that same year. Those rumored photos allegedly traced back to a Jane Doe who claimed she was mistreated at one of Diddy's house parties in 2000 after drinking something that left her disoriented. At first, her lawsuit mentioned an unnamed male celebrity beside Diddy, but by December, that name became Jay-Z. His lawyers immediately shut it down, calling it a calculated extortion attempt. Still, the question lingers. If that night was one of Diddy's infamous freak-offs, what exactly was Jay-Z's role there? The industry froze. Jay stayed silent for months while the internet dissected every detail. Then Bobby Shmurda jumped into the storm, claiming on the Danza project that Rock Nation plants rumors about artists who walk away, saying, "You leave that team, they come for you." At first, it sounded wild until fans started connecting the dots. If the label could move like that against outsiders, what would they do to protect their founder? Suddenly, Rock Nation didn't look like just a label anymore. It looked like an information fortress. After Jaguar Wright's shocking interview dropped, linking Jay-Z and Beyoncé to Diddy's alleged misconduct, the footage vanished almost overnight. Host Pi Morgan later admitted, "Their lawyers contacted us saying those claims were totally false and had no basis in fact. But what really caught attention wasn't the denial. It was the speed. If the claims were empty, why erase them so fast?" For many watchers, that rush screamed damage control. Meanwhile, prosecutors in Diddy's case confirmed his freak-off parties were fully recorded. Not phone clips, but high-definition footage stored in mansions across Miami, L.A., and the Hamptons. Federal agents seized that digital evidence during the 2024 raids, calling it elaborate performances featuring both celebs and hired guests. Nobody outside law enforcement knows who's on those tapes or how deep the list goes. And now Hollywood's upper circle is in panic mode. Insiders say Jay-Z's gone ghost, skipping events, canceling appearances, and handling everything strictly through lawyers. One producer put it bluntly, everybody's locking their phones and deleting chats. It feels like 2003 all over again. Entertainment lawyers are already bracing for subpoenas, terrified that Diddy's seized recordings could end up in court. If any familiar faces appear on those tapes, the fallout could dwarf every Hollywood scandal before it. You can already see the chain reaction. Once an image cracks, sponsors pull out, collabs freeze, and partners back away. For Jay-Z, whose empire stretches from Rock Nation to liquor brands and streaming platforms, his reputation is his currency. That's why Jason Lee's claims aren't being dismissed as gossip. They're being treated like nuclear leverage. Because Jason's not just chasing clicks, he's holding something the industry believes is real, and that belief alone is shaking billionaires. Diddy's downfall has peeled back more than his world. It's exposing a whole ecosystem of stars and execs protecting each other's secrets. And Jay-Z's silence, that might not be guilt, it might be fear of the aftershock. If the truth, whatever it really is, ever comes to light, Jason Lee won't just be blackmailing Jay-Z, he'll be exposing an entire system. Because if those rumored photos exist, that reflection won't just show one rap mogul, it might reveal a whole circle of power players who built their legacies behind closed doors. The question isn't just if Jay-Z was there, it's who else was standing beside him and how far they'll go to keep those secrets locked away. What happens when the walls of power start whispering back, when the industry's silence turns into echoes that can't be contained anymore? I want to know what you think. Is this the biggest cover-up hip-hop's ever seen, or just another rumor blown out of proportion? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what drops next. See you in the next one.